Greetings from the All Africa Conference of Churches on this International Widows' Day. We are delighted to join the world to commemorate this day. And as we commemorate the International Widows' Day 2020, I take this opportunity to create awareness of the importance of this day, as well as to popularize the Justice for Widows campaign, which the All Africa Conference of Churches has launched to address the plight of widows in the continent. International Widows' Day falls on 23rd of June annually, and this day was set apart by the United Nations in 2010 as a day of sensitizing the world about the violations of human rights that widows suffer in many countries. It calls for development of resources and policies that protect widows' rights and empower them socially and economically to end the cycle of violence. As a result of retrogressive cultural norms and beliefs, widows, especially in African communities, generally face unique and traumatizing challenges. These include, but are not limited to, denial of inheritance and land rights, eviction from their late husband's home, humiliating cultural rituals, and poverty. Consequently, their children may lack basic needs including school fees and be vulnerable to abuse. Besides, during the current economic crisis brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, many widows have been hard hit, and this is evidenced by the 36-year-old widow called Penina Bahati from Kenya, who on April 19, 2020 was spotted by media cooking stones to trick her children to go to bed. So how has the All Africa Conference of Churches, AACC, responded? AACC launched Justice for Widows campaign on 23rd June 2019 in Zambia in collaboration with the Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, Cathedral of the Holy Cross, Ruth Ministry of Widows, and the government of Zambia. In order to popularize this campaign, AACC has published a documentary in which widows are sharing their stories, and has also published a brochure to create awareness about the plight of widows in the continent. This can already be accessed online and also through AACC website. AACC has set aside June 23rd of every year as Widows' Day, and calls on all churches to respond urgently. AACC continues to offer small grants as an incentive for churches to run widows programs in their communities. AACC further intends to empower churches to engage the legislative process in order to protect widows' rights. What are our key asks as we commemorate this International Widows' Day? So through Justice for Widows campaign, AACC has the following key asks to churches, governments, families, and other stakeholders. Number one, we encourage churches and governments to address the unique challenges currently facing widows and their children due to the worsening economic crisis caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Two, we call on churches to establish programs which create support systems and safe spaces through which they can provide counseling services as well as other psychosocial support to widows. 3, we call on the church to hold governments accountable when widows' rights are violated. 4, we urge governments to protect widows' rights by implementing laws and policies that protect the rights and freedom of widows. 5, We call for change of attitude towards widows. Widows are full human beings created in the image and likeness of God, like all human beings, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. We therefore call families, religious actors, and society to respect the dignity and God's image in every widow in obedience to the word of God. Finally, congratulations to all widows globally on your tireless efforts to raise your families single-handedly through many challenges. Be assured of God's presence as your help in the time of need and defender at all cost. To conclude this talk, we shall now screen 8 minutes documentary about the plight of widows in Africa, mainly focusing on Zambia. Enjoy the video. God bless you.
When he died, all was well with me. I was the widow. I was told to carry the body to go and bury him in the southern province in Nkuni village.
The loss of a partner is devastating. For many women around the world, that loss is magnified by a long-term struggle for basic needs, their human rights and dignity. They may be denied inheritance rights to the piece of land that they relied on for livelihood, or evicted from their homes, forced into unwanted marriages, or traumatizing widowhood rituals. They are stigmatized for life, shunned and shamed, and many of these abuses go unnoticed, even normalized.
My husband, after passing on, we held the funeral in Garden. That's where his parents are, in Garden Chilulu. That's where his parents stay. But after the funeral, they wanted to grab these children of mine, but by then they were still little. So I suggested that I take them with me, since I'm still alive. So it seemed as if I was against their will. But luckily, I managed to get them. So after getting them, things were not the same as it used to be. The family was kind of not on my side. Up to now, they are not yet on my side.
Nyabo called me, telling me that, Mrs. Mutema, where are you? And then I said, I'm at home. They're saying that there are some people here who are pushing your husband's benefits. I said, I don't know. If you can come over. I told my other relatives whom I was with to escort me to Parliament there, of which we went there. Just to find out from there, they have said that they have chosen the administrator. You are not there, we don't know what is happening, Mrs. Mutema.
I'm a widow for the last 15 years, and I've also engaged many widows who have faced difficulties and humiliation and stigma after the death of their husband. So that's why I'm interested to tell the world what widows are going through, the plight of widows, so that people can know and leaders can take it up with them to engage in the plight of widows.
We suffer as grievers and have the power to help others who suffer. In the famous words of Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see in the world. There are an estimated 258 million widows around the world. At least 2/3 of the widows come from Africa due to the effects of HIV and AIDS, war and conflict.
This has been a struggle for me, My husband's family are nowhere to be seen. They cannot even send a text message that just to ask how the children are living, how they are keeping up, how am I taking care of them. They cannot do that.
I'm just a suffering widow. I've suffered. My friends, because I don't have parents, because if I had parents, I was going to go back where my parents, they are all dead.
He died early morning, and his relatives said I killed him. It's my niece. Some were saying, we want money. This woman has hidden some money because they knew that we did have a lot of money. But unfortunately, some of them said no, but this man finished all the money. He took all the money where he was going.
Umwana chama chinalengeza ndikusowa ponkhala ndawe ndinalibe nyumba atate bake banamusi alibe nyumba ndiye chinalengeza kutuja mwana mwalire chifuka chikoti analibe posta bwanji ponkhala so vitamina nikamba kusauka kumalengesa muntu asankhazikike pamozi na pamozi so nimanga aja bena nkhala kwa apa panyumba yalendi wakuchosa apo endapo apa kasukwanisa kuita bwanji kusonkhera nyumba ndiye mina funo nikambe kuti ndanguvana ma street kids waniona paka nikusauka bazimayi pamene kulengeza kuti bana bazienda chiendende.
When he died, the relatives, they wanted to take things, even where the farm where I am staying now. They were saying now we are going to cut it, we sell the half because it's too much for the woman which is left.
Most times when a man dies, the blame will be on the husband. We say, "Ni won't we pay?" And there is that gathering after burial. We call it in Sambo. When you sit there, Mama, they are going to grill you, so that they make sure that you say, "Ni name we pay." It is me who killed him. You know, my sister suffered.
According to the Kenya Demographic Health Survey 2014, Kenya has an estimated 894,853 widows. Nearly 1 in 10 live in extreme poverty. As women, they have specific needs, but their voices and experiences are often absent from policies that impact their survival.
Widows have been stigmatized to an extent that they don't talk anything about themselves. They are not able to express themselves. They are silenced. They are labeled. They wear patches of labels. Widows, they are labeled as husband snatchers, as witches, as people who are helpless and poor. And so they just confine to themselves. They are depressed. But this is an opportunity to tell the world that there is a suffering group, and these are the widows. Church leaders to take up programs with the widows, listen to widows, also give them an opportunity to have their own safe spaces, and also to empower them economically. In fact, we are still looking for funds for donors to help us roll out this campaign. And what we are doing is to give churches that have widows programs an incentive, a small incentive, to help them run those programs. Many of them have applied for the funding, but we have very little. We cannot even help more than 10 at the moment. So we are calling upon well-wishers to support us with the funding so that we may be able to reach out to as many widows and as possible to change their plight, and also to change people's attitudes towards widows. Thank you very much indeed for watching the video. I hope it has inspired you and informed you about the plight of widows. Although it has been taken from Zambia, it is representative of many parts of the continent, and we hope to hear more stories in the near future from each part of the continent. I am now delighted to invite and introduce to you Reverend Canon Emmanuel Chikoya, the General Secretary, Council of Churches in Zambia, to tell us how the church is addressing the plight of widows. Thank you. Welcome, Canon.
Greetings from the Council of Churches in Zambia as we commemorate the International Widows Day this year. One reflects in terms of what the church is doing in Zambia. I think the church has always been an all-weather friend to widows and orphans, and under the Council of Churches in Zambia we have the Umozi groups through which women come together, among them widows, to give each other support and encourage each other, but also do things like village banking where they can help each other to get money to earn a living through vending. There have been direct interventions such as food packs that have been given, and school support with school children, but the needs are very high. The needs are too much, and so the church tends to do what is called catch up, because in some cases, of course, we should recognize that there are not deliberate programs, and the issues of and the plight of widows is not a priority, and those are unfortunate instances. But overall, many of our member churches have a special and soft spot for the widows. During the COVID-19 challenge or period, pandemic, the challenges of widows have been made worse. They could not trade because they live on a day-to-day kind of basis. They have to sell their merchandise, buy their merchandise on everyday basis and sell it. And if people are not on the streets, if there's no activity, they are the worst hit. Some of them work as maids. They lost their jobs. They wash clothes as part-time jobs. And so all this could not be done. And so it meant they were worse hit, they were badly affected, and their challenges were even worsened because of the COVID-19 challenge. What is it that the church has done? I think as the Council of Churches in Zambia, we have submitted a number of proposals, a number of resource mobilization technique programs in order to raise the much needed resources to help the widows. And I think the concept of the village banking seems to be taking center stage, and this is a more sustainable way of helping the widows and empowering them, because they are able to get money, and that money is at a cost-effective kind of rate in terms of interest, and they can be able to fend for themselves. But overall, I think in terms of preparedness, the church, I should say, was caught napping. We needed to be better equipped with reserves, with interventions that we can rapidly utilize to mitigate the challenges of widows. So it's a wake-up call. The great lesson of COVID-19 is that we need to stop depending on one income stream. The church needs to invest so that it can do mission better. And investing means even going into the corporate world, going into the real estate world, so that the church can have a backup reserves of funds, and also strategic reserves in terms of fixed deposits in the banks. So these are critical things that need to be put in place, because the church is always expected to provide an answer. And when you come to church and don't get an answer, then it is as good as you're almost dead and buried. And so the church needs to be more robust, more proactive, more deliberate. We have programs, for example, like the Ruth Ministry at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross within the Salvation Army. There's a process of accompanying and going together with those that have been widowed and widowed, just so that they are supported as they transition and settle down. So these are among some of the programs that are in place. And last year, we observed the International Widows Day, and we were able to showcase what can be done. Workshops were there, and what we hope to see is churches beginning to replicate and intensify ministry and support to the widows. And at the end of the day, of course, widows, it means you're focusing also on orphans that need holistic ministry and support. And so overall, it is a wake-up call. COVID-19, if we go back to business as usual, would have failed lamentably the examination that COVID-19 had brought to us. We need to wise up, invest. We need to make sure that the most vulnerable in our society, including some could be widows of clergy that died, or widowers, and they need our support. And so when the church fails such people, it fails Jesus Christ. And so we have the hope that we'll get better and do much better post this COVID-19. And we wish every widow and every orphan a very blessed commemoration of International Widows' Day. To churches out there, let us wake up and not just pray about the widows, pray with them and be practical in terms of empathetic support. Thank you very much.